All right. Well, welcome everybody to a little midday epic interview that we're doing today. Usually we do these on Monday nights, but because of all the wonderful craziness going on, we have to be flexible and adjustable to everyone's schedule. But we are recording this, so you will be able to see this later. We will post this into our group as well in the future. I have a special guest with me because I enrolled with a coaching course with Ray and Jessica. And I talk to Ray like daily pretty much. So I'm really excited to have, don't tell Ray, I don't know if he's sitting right there, but I'm actually more excited to have Jessica come and do a training for us because everyone can see Ray kind of all the time. I mean, every day he's going live, he's in Rank Makers, he's every day on his page now. I think he's like kind of put the gas pedal down on online exposure. Now he's like everywhere again. So it's really cool to see that. But Jessica is kind of she's the one that I think has a lot more weight in terms of things that she knows how to do. Because again, I'm gonna have her tell her story as well, but she had an incredibly successful run in network marketing. And then I think a lot of the things that she was doing back then caused Ray and Jess to go down this training path because they were using social media when no one was using social media. And everyone said, it's crazy to use social media and network marketing and direct sales. And they kind of like are the pioneers of that in a way. And if you want to learn from people, you want to learn from pioneers because the pioneers are the ones that go through all the fun stuff. So we don't have to. And they can go, hey, watch out for this. You're going to get this pitfall. Focus on this. Don't focus on that. And so we want to talk a little bit about social media today, but also really want to talk about time management. Because I know Jess is a whiz at time management because she has to. She's got a few kids, including Ray, so she's managing a lot of people at once. She's managing a huge business. And so I want to have her touch a little bit on that because we have our team is just exploding right now. We've enrolled, I think, 520 or 530 distributors on our team in the last month since April 1st. And so everyone's having a lot of fun. But that's also where time management comes into play too. It's like, you still have to have a family and you still have to have friends and fun and all that stuff too while it's going. So I will kind of step aside now and let Jess take over. Jess, I'd love for you to kind of share your story first of maybe your background and where you kind of come from. And then we can kind of go into some questions. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's great. And first and foremost, let me thank you, James, for having me on here. I'm honored, and I know what type of leadership that you display with your group and the things that you go through and the investment, not only in time, but in money that you spend to become a better leader and to further not only your own business, but everybody else's business that works with you. And I think that's really commendable. And so I highly suggest that you give James some gratitude, some praise for doing what he does, because not that he needs it, but it's always good to hear that, you're making a difference, and that's what we live for. I know that's what he lives for as well. So just had to say that and mention that. And also congratulations on your team's success. That's because of all of you on here. And I will say that in the last month, people searching for ways to work from home on Google Trends has gone up over 100 times. So we are blessed and fortunate to be in a profession right now amongst all the craziness that allows people to control their own future, allows people to control the narrative. And that's really rare right now. So you should be extremely grateful and happy just to know about what we do, whether you're seeing success, haven't seen success yet, and in a plateau, seeing massive success, whatever the case may be, just knowing that this is here is huge. And I want you to understand the masses are still not aware that this is available. So back to my story. I started in network marketing when I was 21 years old. I was working full-time at the makeup counter. I was also going to school full-time to get my marketing degree, and I was trying to start a wedding business part-time doing makeup and things like that, so on the weekends. So I had like 90 to 100 hours a week already committed to other things. And I was so young, I was 21, about to graduate, that when network marketing fell into my lap and I saw the model, I didn't have the stigma. I didn't question it. I just saw the model and I looked at what this could do for me and other people, and it made sense. And that's really lesson number one, is this makes sense, and it's just how people act around it that you need to be careful and cautious of, especially on social media. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But this is a brilliant and great model. And so I saw that and I thought, okay, well, if other people can do it, maybe I can do it. But I had no business experience, okay? I had very little confidence. I was very shy. If you had told me that I'd be doing all the trainings and things that I do now, I'd be like, you're crazy, no way. I always loved people, but because of my love for people, and I think this is very common with women, I was scared to make them not like me. And in sales, that's not a very good approach, to be nervous that everybody isn't going to like you because you're talking about promoting a business, right? And so I had a lot to learn there. So first 6 months, I was reaching out to people, nothing, right? No signups, no success, nothing. And I was getting really, really frustrated because I felt like I was doing everything right, but it just wasn't clicking. And so I saw some people were having success on social media, and I thought to myself, well, what if I tried this out? And at the time, 10, 11 years ago, social media was not nearly what it is today. I mean, today we have so many tools that make it so much easier for you. I'm telling you, it was just not the same. And so I thought social media was a place where people just go to post what they had to eat that day. And I was like, this is silly, this is stupid. I don't care if you had a sandwich. Like, why am I on here? Then I saw people were actually making money, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this could work. So I started on Facebook, started talking to people, started learning how it worked. And long story short, within 12 months after that, I became the #1 female income earner of that company and started teaching and training people how to do what I did for free. And people started asking me, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? It was so new, and people were not building on social media. It was kind of like the devil back then. Like, it can't duplicate it, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and it's impractical, and all the things we know to be totally bogus now. So people were asking me kind of on the sidelines and behind the scenes, what'd you do? How'd you do that? And I just did a ton of training for free. And then I decided people really wanted a course. So I decided to create a course. It was phenomenally successful. And from there, we just started training more and more and more. Loved training the profession as a whole. Loved our team as well that we were building. And so Ray and I went on to build it was really one company, and it transitioned into another company. So I guess technically it was 2 companies, but we were really dedicated to this group of people, this team. We built it up to a very large income and large amount. And we, at the end of the day, we made the decision back in 2013 to transition out of network marketing and more do training full-time as a whole, to be generic trainers, so nobody would ever question our motives behind training in the space. And it was really where we were meant to be. I'll be honest, I miss wholeheartedly our network marketing team. There's such simplicity and beauty in network marketing versus all the crazy things we have to do running I guess you call more traditional organization and business. But we do what we do because of the impact we can make. And it's just been insane since there. And we've seen just wild success. And I'll tell you that, again, 11 years ago, if you had asked me if I would have, as a shy young girl, created the level of success that we've created just from a few small decisions back then, I would have told you you were absolutely crazy. And that's not me. Like, that's not me. I knew I would always be successful in some way, shape, or form. I think you do. It's kind of ingrained in you. But I didn't think it would be like this. So it's very exciting. And I'm grateful to have come as far as we have.
And Jess, so what did you, I mean, it might not be much different, but what did you do back then? Because now we're talking, how many years ago was that? 10 years?
11, yeah, almost 11 years ago.
So, because social media was, like, Facebook didn't even exist back then. It wasn't really, it was Twitter maybe, right? MySpace.
So MySpace, and then Facebook was just coming into colleges, and I got access to it because I was in college. So that's how new it was. Like nobody else could have access to it. It was just like college students at the time. And then over the next six months to a year, probably, it started opening up to more and more people.
And so what did you do back then to do social media? Is it very similar to what you do now? Is it very different? Like you might not even remember what you did back then and what the success you had, but is there a difference, or was it really the same thing that you guys teach today that works today? Or is there any difference between it?
Well, I think the concepts are very, very valid today. What kind of gets outdated are the different buttons and the actual I guess the vehicle, the medium that you can use. Like there's Instagram, there's, Twitter, there's Facebook. Like Instagram wasn't a thing back then. So stories were not a thing. There wasn't live video. So there's all these technical things you can use, but the concepts still ring in very true. And yes, all of those technical things can complicate things, but they can also make it a lot easier for you than it was for me. So really what I did, and this is what we preach day in and day out, whether you believe in, face-to-face and doing home meetings, which can still work, depending on what company you're in, not right now, but eventually, hopefully we'll all get back to normal and it can work. Whether you believe in home meetings or social media or cold calling or whatever, the thing I did day in and day out, we still preach to this day, is get the presentation in front of people. And I was reaching out to people like a mad woman. I was prospecting my face off. And the great thing about social media is it just gives you so many more people to do that with right from your home. And back then, people didn't understand that concept because it was so foreign. Like even having like AOL chat was like this great new thing, right? Remember that AOL chat groups and stuff? And so it was so foreign for people to start doing that, but it's really just getting out there and taking people who are ice cold and turning them into lukewarm and then red hot. And there's several ways to do that, and the concepts haven't changed. There is, marketing, as my husband kind of describes the two different situations. So there's marketing, which is videos, trying to get somebody to reach out to you, right? Videos, your posts, your stories, different things like that. And then there's prospecting, actively prospecting. So you reaching out to someone else. And if you have the right balance of that, you'll win every time as long as you show up and you show up consistently. And I would say 90% of business success is showing up. It really is. It's not more complicated than that. There are definitely a lot of ways to overcomplicate it. And that's one thing I love about, the summit I'm doing now is everybody in that summit built their businesses differently. Some are similar, but across the board, there's stunt women, there's people who built a network marketing business, there's people who built an online business. The common theme is their mindset around money and around business. And that's what's important to grasp in network marketing as well, is if you show up consistently, you reach out to people, you do a little bit of marketing each day, you're going to have a successful business.
Well, and that's kind of a good segue. Good job segueing. Segue into, social media and all these different platforms can be a little confusing at times or even overwhelming. In terms of time management, because I watched a course on yours that was really about time management and also balancing family and fun, finances too, because I know you're the financial whiz behind the Higdon empire, as they say. So whenever I ask about that, he's like, "Go ask Jessica." I'm like, oh, "Okay." And so, what tips can you give on, because everyone seems to almost live on social media now. And I try to get off social media as much as possible, especially from your influence too, of, having that balance. So maybe we could talk a little bit about the time management aspect, because just like your idea on money, where it's really all about mindset, I think that's the same for time management too. It's not really much different than having a mindset of how your time works and where you spend it and all those different things. So maybe let's talk a little bit about, just from a general scope of would I manage, having a family, fun, all those different things that I want to have in my life to be fulfilled. while also, crushing it at my home-based business and doing well and prospecting and marketing and doing all that stuff. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think for women right now, it's especially hard, right? Because, and this isn't all family dynamics, but I can only speak from my personal experience and things that we're seeing. But if you're a wife, if you're a mom, if you're running your own business, you have a lot thrown on you right now. If you have your own house, you're managing the house, you're managing your husband, like your kid, right? The one thing I say is worse than a sick kid is a sick husband. And I think any wife will agree with me there. No offense, James, you guys are amazing, but oh my gosh, the drama, it's hilarious. So, you're managing all of these things and you're just trying to get your life kind of back in balance, right? And some days you're better than others. And I think it's important to really be lax with yourself, especially now. You are going to be better at, that quality time with your kids on some days than you are with others. You're going to be better at working your business on some days than you are with others. And just being okay with that, forgiving yourself and releasing that guilt is huge, especially for moms. But I think first and foremost, you should set up your non-negotiables. And this was something that we learned from our business coaches, but there are many successful people out there who have a non-negotiable that they will not work past a certain time, or they will not work on Sundays, or they will not work, in this X, Y, and Z time frame because of whatever, or they will only work for a time. We would only do events when my babies were very, very little. We would only do events in Florida. That was a non-negotiable. And so, you have certain non-negotiables in your life right now, and you need to define what those are, and it's okay to have them. I think that's a big thing too. It's kind of drilled in us as entrepreneurs that we have to work our faces off 24/7 all day long. And yes, there's a time and a place for that, but you do it in a season of time. That's not the rest of your life, or you're never going to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You're never going to enjoy what you built. And as a mom, I can tell you, your kids are only little so long. They only have that certain age for a certain time. Your business is always going to be there, but your kids are only at the age they're at right now. And so if you have little kids at home, one of my non-negotiables is I have to spend an hour of quality play a day. I have to. And it's not, I don't have a distracted phone. I don't have anything else around me. I am 100% focused on them. And you know what? I'm human. And I'll tell you, sometimes it is boring. I love them to death. Sometimes it is boring. I don't want to play Barbies for an hour. But the response in my kids when I then have to go do work is night and day. So if you haven't been implementing this, I encourage you to maybe try and make that one of your non-negotiables. Even if you have teenagers at home, they will respect that. Go take a walk with them, go take a bike ride with them. They'll respect that. So that's one of mine. When you have that non-negotiable in place, you feel so much better about getting help. You feel so much better about being able to work on your business, and you can devote 100% of your unbridled attention to your business then. So write down your list of non-negotiables, implement those every day. And I'll say another major concept for time management is you need to get help. You need to get help. And right now it's tough, okay? But it's working out that communication either with a family member or your spouse or somebody that has been quarantined for the last 30, 45 days that has not, been exposed. You need to work on getting help and not feeling guilty for that help, because your time is worth more than you doing laundry. And Ray really helped me with this concept of thinking. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do everything. And I think that's just ingrained in us as moms. I wanted to do the laundry. I wanted to do the cleaning. I wanted to do, all the kids' stuff. And he was like, our kids, they're going to remember you showing up for their soccer games. They're going to remember you showing up for Sabrina's gymnastics class. They're never going to care or remember who folded their socks. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't even remember if my mom did our laundry or not. I think she did. So there's little things that you can free up time with, and you're not even realizing that you're doing it. And for dads, it's the same way. There's little things you're doing that you can free up your time with, and you don't even realize you're doing it. So figure out what those weeds are and start plucking them. Just start plucking those weeds however you can. And maybe it's, your husband watches the kids for an hour and then you take the kids for the rest of the day, or whatever that looks like. But here's the amazing thing about time management in the times we live in. 30 years ago, building a network marketing business, you couldn't just log into your computer and go message people or go do a video. We are so spoiled with the channels that we have to build this business. It is unreal. And we've lost sight of that fact, that you think back in the day, they could just like an hour at night reach out to 50 people. Yeah, maybe through cold calling, but those people would be angry because they're eating dinner and their phone's ringing off the hook and they're cursing them out, and it wasn't as effective. We are so spoiled that really you only need an hour or two of solid time throughout the day dedicated to your business, but you actively prospecting, you building your own business, and team building, you helping your team building their business. And so it goes right back to, I don't think time management is really the problem. It's really more so the mindset around it. You're exhausted. You're with the kids a lot. The times are crazy. People's moods are in the gutter right now. Let's just be real. And so if you can get your mindset out of that and say, okay, what time frame can I do this in that I'm going to be the most positive and most gung-ho? Just forgive yourself. There's going to be times where it is not a good time for you to build your business. When are you the most positive? When are you the most gung-ho? When do you feel like, okay, I can take a breather and do this? Is it at night before you go to bed and the kids are in bed? Is it in the morning when you first wake up? What time is that? Plan that time out and implement it every single day. Again, not rocket science, but it's your mindset around time that's holding you back. It really has little to do with lack of time. We're spoiled nowadays. You can get up earlier, you can stay up later. If you really want it, you can make that happen. And if you're comfortable where you're at and you're like, yeah, I'm fine with my routine, that's great. Stick it out. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't make other people feel guilty about it. Don't constantly say, oh, I wish I was doing more. I just don't have time with these kids. It's not true. It's just not true. It's just a matter of your mindset around it and working through those holes that you give yourself.
Well, I think you said something really, you said a lot of things. I have a whole page of notes here. But one of the things you said, we're so spoiled right now. And I think that sometimes holds people back too, because they're like, well, at any time I could get started and get going. Whereas, back in the day, you had to get going because you had to do phone calls and one-on-one meetings and all these presentations. There was no Zoom. There was no, get somebody on a recorded webinar, that didn't exist. Now I think it actually holds people back because they're like, well, when I'm ready to start, it'll be easy because I can just, push a button and then, the results will just come and it'll be magical. And in a way, it is true, but you're doing yourself a disservice because, heck, if you started today and you started that activity, where are you going to be 90 days from now? And I think where you talk about time management, I mean, it's so important to have that mindset around it of like, I have more time than, 90% of the people that I knew in the past, just because they didn't have the internet, they didn't have social media. You can do more in an hour than someone could do probably in a week 10 years ago. And that's what's so important now. People go, oh, well, it's easy and I can just do it in an hour. But you have to really be thankful of what you can do in that hour that somebody had to spend a week for about not even 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, kind of right before Facebook and all that stuff launched. That's
well, huge. And I'll tell you, there's a huge problem with people being lead greedy right now. And I'll explain what that means. But, back in the day, if you had 5 to 10 leads a week, you were sitting pretty, right? You were doing great. You were following up and you were building a business. And hey, let's say you were crazy and you had 20 to 30 leads a week, like you were in heaven. Now people are like, oh, I'm only getting 100 leads a day. Like that's what I'm getting 100 leads a day. Well, no, you're just not accessing the right people maybe, or you're not following up properly because you're lead greedy. You want thousands and thousands and thousands of leads per month, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that if they're the right kind, but you don't need that many leads to build a business.
Well, and that's what Ray said all the time, and it's so true in just all of direct sales is you don't need thousands. You just need 2 or 3 in all reality. Now, to find those 2 or 3, it might take going through people to find those people. But once you find those people, like you said, it's more about taking care of them than going and finding more. And I think that's what, Ray and you teach at the Higdon Group is like, listen, be thankful for what you have, take care of that and take care of your house, and then go out and get more. Because people are always like, I need more, I need more, I need more. Well, what about the 5 customers you enrolled last month? When was the last time you talked to them? Oh yeah, I guess I should do that. Because one of the key concepts that I've learned from Ray that's really we're ingraining into our team is that, the journey doesn't stop when someone says yes. The journey doesn't stop when somebody goes, oh, I want to buy your product, or, oh, great, I want to join your business. That's where it begins, and that's one of the things, like when he talks about marketing never ends. When somebody earns their first $1,000, their first $10,000, whatever it is in their business, it's continually marketing and continually building that relationship. And that's what it's all about. It's not about getting more leads. It's about what do I have now and how can I get that person so they have a relationship with me where they're around 10 years from now. Because that's our residual business, is keeping customers and doing all that stuff. And that might be good to talk about a little bit too, because I know you and Ray are excellent at building, culture and having people want to be around the campfire. I know we talk about Ray's 80-15-5 all the time, but that's a key concept too. Is there anything that you would recommend in terms of, I mean, we all have the scripts and everything that Ray comes out with, but in terms of follow-up and building that relationship, because I think that's probably the biggest advantage most women have in this industry, and it's why it's 80% women, is women are better at building a relationship. Guys, it's rare that you actually kind of have to learn how to build a relationship. Women, it's kind of ingrained in you. Therefore, you're just better at this business by nature. So maybe give some tips, maybe more for the guys that are on here to build relationships. But what are some tips that you can give for following up, building a relationship? Why would you want to do that? Talk a little bit about the relationship building side of this business, because I know you're an expert at it.
Yeah. And here's the beautiful thing about making money is so many people do it in so many different ways. And so that's not to say you should try a bunch of different ways. You should pick 1, maybe 2, and do that really, really, really well. One that resonates with you. And so it's funny because Ray and I built the business completely differently. He built it like very to the point, either mainly through marketing or in his prospecting. It was very like to the point and you're in or you're out and numbers driven. And me, I took more of the relationship approach, and that worked really well for me. So when I built, I would just simply reach out to somebody that I felt I had something in common with, that I felt I would jive with. And I think that's step number 1 is stop trying to get everybody and anybody. Okay. And go for the low hanging fruit, the people who you feel that you could instantly have rapport with. Are you a tennis player? Are you a mom? Are you a dad? Are you in Cleveland, Ohio? Like, do you like the same sports teams? Do you suffer the same problem? Think about what your problems have been maybe before you got into this company or experienced the product. Was there some type of story that you feel other people who had your same problem would resonate with? Did you have lack of energy around the kids and now you bounce around and play tag with them all day? Like, what is that story that you can resonate with somebody with? And start with the low hanging fruit, the people that you can really resonate with. And very simply, back then they didn't have groups, but they started to have fan pages and things. And so I would go to certain people that I liked or books that I liked, look for those fan pages of people I thought would be in my same circle of thinking and realm of who I wanted to work with. And I would see what they were posting. I would look at, how their attitude was online. I would look at the things that they were agreeing with, the things that they were disagreeing with. I did some research on these people, and I don't mean I spent, 30 minutes on one person. And that's a big question I get too. Well, how can I possibly get to 20 people in a day if I'm spending 10 to 20 minutes on each one looking at their profiles? And I'm like, no, this should be 30 seconds per person, maybe a minute, maybe, but you can tell a lot by just going and researching somebody and what they say, what's on their profile, and it gives you that in. That's what I love about social media is you meet someone in a coffee shop, you have no idea if they're a Bucks fan or a Browns fan, two terrible sports teams, by the way, but I happen to be fans of both. And you have no idea. And so you have that ability on social media, and then very simply, I would reach out to them and say why. So I always included in my first message their first name, so they knew it was personal, why I was reaching out to them, and something to compliment them, some way to tell them that I really loved what they said here, or something very specific that they knew I was reaching out to them, and this is why. And then I would ask them a question. And oftentimes those questions would lead into where I was wanting them to go. Basically, are you open to something or are you not? And that could be on the product side, or it could be on the business side. So on the business side, it might be like, hey, what do you do? How long have you been doing that for? Oh, you must love it. A lot of times they'd be like, well, it pays the bills, not really. And then I transition into, oh, well, have you ever considered doing anything else? On the product side, you could take a mom who's, suffering from lack of energy and just say, hey, like, girl, I've been there. I know exactly what this is like. If you're open to something that helped me, I'd love to share it with you. And if not, no big deal. Never pushing, never prodding, but see how you have that instant rapport with somebody versus just, if I were to talk to, let's say, a UFC fighter, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be like, hey, bro, what's going on? Look at those pecs. Like, it'd be weird. And same thing with me. Like, if he reached out to me, I'd be like, he's trying to pick me up, or what's he doing, So I would just start with the low-hanging fruit if you're trying to learn how to build relationships. And just, you don't spend 6 months learning about their dog, learning about all their kids and grandkids and aunts and second cousins' names. You get to the point, but you do it with a little more of a relationship vibe. And then if they say no, you've still created that relationship. You're a follower of theirs, or they're a follower of yours, so they see your stuff. And then over time, I've had so many people come back. It's hilarious. We have been out of our company since 2013, and we still get people asking us about joining that company still. So it's funny how people will come back.
Well, and the thing is too, when you talk about that, it really kind of comes down to how, one of the things that Ray gets a lot of flack for is, oh, you're too direct. You're just kind of going for the jugular and being direct. But what you're doing is you're being direct with your rapport building, because you would have to build rapport with somebody that you don't know, like a UFC fighter, or for me, it would be like somebody like you that is, into makeup and works at a beauty counter, like whatever. How I would have to build up over time of us having commonality for me to bring up something. And that would be weird versus me finding someone that's maybe into personal growth and likes to read books and it's a guy, or it could be a girl too, but somebody that has common interest where I could immediately have instant rapport. So we don't have to do rapport building. It's already built in. And then I can be direct, because that reach out is just a connection of like, oh, hey, we have common interests. Do you like this too? And like, oh yeah, I do. Oh, great. Hey, have you ever thought about starting a home-based business? Like, you can do that jump really quickly. And when somebody goes, like, I know Ray talks about this all the time, people go, I have no one to talk to. Oh, so you mean like the few billion people on Facebook, there's no one to go talk to? And that was brilliant what you just said, where, hey, go to groups, go to pages, find out who they are. It's okay. That's why people have public profiles. If somebody didn't want to have a public profile, guess what? They'd make it private. And so if they have a public profile, it's okay to scroll, not too much. Don't go back a year or two, but 30 seconds. I think that's a really incredible way to look at it. And after you do that, after you do that rapport building, and then you go in and you go and ask them that direct question, you know, how do you get people from asking the question, doing the rapport building, now I get them to maybe interested in my business, but then maybe, because you probably had this happen just like Ray has and I have and everyone has, they kind of disappear and they ghost you or whatever it is, where you kind of had this rapport, you talked about maybe a business or a product or whatever it is, and then they disappear. How would you go back to somebody that maybe ghosted you and go, hey, nudge, nudge, you know, do you go back to them and go, hey, remember that business we talked about? Or how would you go back and again, kind of continue that rapport and not detract them, but attract them to talk more about it? And then we've got a question from somebody too that we'll tackle in a second here too.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I will say too, for Instagram, if you are on Instagram, if you're not, don't try and learn too many things at once. Like I said, master one, maybe two platforms really, really well and become very good at them. But on Instagram, I will say that you will have a higher percentage that will message you back. I mean, it'd be rare for somebody not to. People love messaging on that platform right now, I think, because it's not as bombarded. But either way, if you go through the numbers, you will have what you're talking about, where you have people ghost you that you'll never hear from again. It's just the nature of the beast. And you'll have people that come back to you, and you'll have people that you go back to. So I think, especially now, if you had a record, which I highly suggest keeping, if you had a record of everybody that you talked to that was a maybe, I highly suggest now going back to them. What's the harm? It's not going to hurt. It can only help. They're not in your business now. And if they say no, they still won't be in your business. So what's the big deal? Going back to them and say, hey, I know you're on the fence about this. I'm just curious, given the current climate and things that are going on, I'm just curious if you had any more questions around this or you wanted to chat more. I would go back to every single person and see, and just maybe share, just maybe share things are really, really good right now because your team is booming. It's booming. And so is the industry. The industry is booming right now. This is a very rare gem. So we won't always have a situation like this to go back to, thank God, right? To go back to them with. However, you can find a situation in anything to go reach back out to somebody with. I wouldn't just go back and say, hey, just checking in. How's it going? You could do that. Again, it won't hurt, but I wouldn't. I would have a specific reason you're going back to reach out to them. Either you just heard this amazing story and it made you think of them because they're also a mom and they also, were trying to run a makeup business and borrow stories. It doesn't have to be your own. Borrow stories from your upline, your downline, your sideline, your crossline, the owners of the company. Borrow those stories and use that to follow up with the people who have the same background. Maybe you have to be careful with this one, but if you have a new product that comes out or a new bonus or something like that, you don't want to go back to those people and be like, hey, we just came up with this new bonus. Because they're like, well, what do I care? But I would just say, hey, we just announced some exciting updates and didn't know if you were still open to taking a look at this if your circumstances have changed. Follow-up is definitely key when it comes to really building a sustainable business. The cool thing about social media as well is when you do reach out to someone, I highly suggest getting them in your world in some way, shape, or form, either from a follow or you follow them or they friend you or on Instagram, you're following each other. Get them into your world because you may think that they're out of the picture, but there are people watching you right now that you don't know are watching. As creepy as that is, but it's actually a very good thing. There are people watching you right now that you don't know are watching, and they will come back to you if you are consistent and do this long enough. They will. It's mathematically impossible if you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing for them not to. So getting them into your world, having them see things, you'll start to see them maybe comment on a thing or two. You can reach out, say, hey, I saw that you commented on that. I'm so glad you love that. Anything I can help with? Just keeping that line open of communication and dripping on them with the stuff that you're doing on your profiles, the stuff you're doing in your stories, and that line of communication through messaging is so powerful and so key.
Well, I think that's also why we're having a lot of success right now with our Facebook groups, because as you reach out to somebody and you follow up with them and invite them, having them in the Facebook group lets them incubate without you nudging them all the time. Because I get messages all the time that are like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this thing everywhere. It's amazing. I'm like, well, not really. You're just in your feed and you're in the group. So you see a lot of people that are posting in the group. So I think Facebook groups are really, they kind of went away for a little while in terms of effectiveness because people were spamming stuff and everything. But now I think they've come back into their heyday because Facebook has changed a couple of things around it. But I think that's really why that's very powerful to get them into your world and do it in a way that's not spammy. Because some of the best posts that I've made on Facebook that have gotten the most results were like, the post I just did this morning. Hey, what workout equipment do you like to use at home? That'll probably be a really good post, and I'll be able to follow up with people because it's a conversation starter. The question that we had come in is somebody asked, so they're loving the content, they're learning social media, but they have a few people that are just not social media people at all. Like they barely even have a Facebook account, but they want to, bring them into this. What advice would you have for somebody? Because we talked a lot about social media, we talked about time management, about somebody that's off the social media world. How would I do anything different with them? Is there anything that I have to address differently? What would you recommend for someone that's kind of not on social media? Just a side note too, for whoever, I think that's Paul that asked that, that's also why we create everything in the groups and we create everything outside the group that's on epicleverage.com. So we have things in both worlds that you can share with, and we also have the Be Epic app where you can use things through there. And so maybe talk a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so I think you have to meet people where they're at. And, it's like saying, well, I don't have $1 million, so I guess I'm just going to stay in this shack for the rest of my life. Your current circumstance should have nothing to do with your future results. However, things in life are changing. With this business, you don't want to push people too hard. They may not want the $1 million home. They may love the shack. And I'm not saying this person is in that situation, but if they are so focused, and you can still build a business offline, it's harder to do now with all the guidelines in place and that we have to stay at home. You can still do that. It's just they're making it harder for themselves by not having the mentality of, well, I can't change my circumstance, so I'll never get to that next level and that next place. However, if they are like, you know what, maybe they're a little older, they don't really see the need for it, fine. Have them do text message blasts. Have them reach out to people they already know. If they have a way to get involved in some kind of text group with not their family, but maybe some friends or something, have them reach out to people, meet them where they're at. Don't push them so hard that, they want to just run the other direction, or they get overwhelmed and they feel like they can't possibly do this thing. I'm certainly not the expert on cold calling. I've done it. I've seen a little bit of success with it, but I am certainly not the expert there. But if they want to do that, just encourage them to stick with the principles. If the strategy is different, that's okay. Just stick with the principles. It's getting the presentation out to people. It's getting people in the funnel. It's getting those numbers going. And then once they get to a certain point, it's keeping them in and keeping them happy and starting the cycle all over again. And if they want to see that next level of success, you help them get there by showing them that if they stay in that current circumstance in their mind, they're never going to excel in their results in their life. But again, if they are where they are, I think I would just kind of meet them where they're at, give them the resources for that, and teach the principles over and over again. Those principles haven't changed for 50 years in the profession, and they're not gonna change because this is a people-driven business. The strategies, the tactics, the technology will change, but the concepts will not. And so that's what I would be teaching that person.
Yeah, and the thing too is because when you talk about somebody's off social media, that could be a customer, or if somebody's off social media and maybe they want to build a business, it's how you talk about what social media is. Because social media, I think, is a tool. So you have to talk to them. If somebody goes, hey, I'm not in social media now, I'm not on Facebook now, I don't know how it works. To me, that person almost has an advantage over everybody else because now you join Facebook today, everyone's a reach out. Everyone in your past, however long you've been alive now, is now a contact you can reach out to and start conversations with. So it's also teaching that person that maybe is off social media now and they want to build a business and they want to make a side income. It's going, hey, let's use social media as a tool in order to do that and learn how to do it. Because some people are like, well, I just don't know how to do it. Well, you also don't know how to cold call. You don't know how to prospect. You don't know how to, network at a meeting or whatever it is. Social media, if you look at it as a thing to learn versus like, oh gosh, I have to get on Facebook and I have to, be one of those people, use it as a tool because Facebook uses it as a tool every day. So I think what we've gone over today, I think we covered so much stuff. I think I'm probably going to chop this video up into like 5 different videos because we covered a lot of ground. But anything else that you can give kind of guidance on maybe how to navigate what's going on right now with everyone being at home? What are some tips that you can not even just about direct sales and running a business, but, some people are going through bouts of depression now. Some people are kind of having really down lows of, I'm at home with my kids. my kid's furry, so I don't really have that much problem. We're on his bed most of the time. But what kind of advice, because you probably go through it too. Everyone goes through this. What happens if, I want this business to go, but I'm kind of in a little bit of a slump because of what's going on around. How could I lift myself out of that? What could I do to change that and kind of get into the game? Because, being alone can kind of take you out of the game. What kind of tips or advice can you give for that?
Well, I think as far as building a business, one concept that I always played out in my mind each and every day was, I'm at least going to do one. So I would do at least one prospect. I would never have a day where I didn't at least do one. And you know what happens when you at least do one? You start to do 2, and then maybe 3, and then maybe that turns into 10 or 15 or 20 or 30. But I'll tell you, it was never just one. It was at least 2 or 3, sometimes, 30 to 50. So I always have the concept of I'm going to at least do one thing towards my business today. And when I do that, I'm good. I'm done. If I decide to do more, I do, but at least I feel that sense of guilt goes away. And that sense of depression can be mounting on top of the fact that everything is going on that's going on. And you didn't do that one thing towards your business. So now you're feeling guilty. Now you're feeling like a piece of crap. Now you're feeling worthless and all these crazy things we tell ourselves that aren't true. And so that self-pity and that guilt doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anybody. And so just do one. Just do that one thing, no matter how you feel. And you can start to get past that, getting in motion, doing videos like this. It gets me amped up. It gets me excited. And also, I think, you'll hear it time and time again. It's certainly not a new concept, but what you put into your mind is so key. And feeding your mind good things right now, which is hard to do because there's bad things everywhere. I mean, everywhere I turn, there's a new conspiracy about something going on. Some of them I think are valid, I'll be honest. And then some of them I'm like, that makes no sense. And then everywhere I turn, it's like there's more deaths and more cases and da-da-da-da. And it's like, if you look at the whole of the world, most people are good. Most things are going really well. We're safe. We're not being bombed. Okay. We're not, some of the things, we're not in the Hitler era. Okay. So looking at what are the good things about my circumstance right now? What are the good things in my situation? Always, always, always. And this is a big thing. If you've ever followed Ray and I, always practicing gratitude, waking up each and every morning with the things that you're grateful for versus what's going on currently will help you with those mindset shifts and get you out of that place. Now, sometimes you're still going to go there. And I'll be honest, Ray and I are humans. We're not perfect. We go there sometimes, and it can be really frustrating when I'm trying to do a video and my daughter's like drawing lipstick on the floor in front of me and there's nothing I can do about it. But it is what it is. And there's 10 years from now, I'm going to laugh this all off and say, oh my God, do you remember when this, and this happened? So it really is about what you feed your mind. Turn off the news. Don't even watch it. Like seriously, people try and argue with me that there's a good time and place to watch the news. And I'm like, there's not. If there's something serious going on in the world, you're going to find out about it. I promise. Someone will tell you. You will see it on Facebook. You'll be walking outside and your neighbor will say, hey, did you see that meteor that's going to hit the earth in about an hour? You should probably go hug your kids. Like, you will find out about it. There is no good time and place, in my opinion, to watch the news. And I mean the regular news as it is with all the craziness that they have going on. So I would just really be careful about what you feed your mind. Tune into things like this that James is planning and different calls that he has in Zoom meetings. Focus on that one thing. And if that turns into more, great. And if it doesn't, don't beat yourself up about it and just really focus on what you have to be grateful for today. If you're watching this, you have a computer, you have a phone, you have eyes to see, you have ears to hear. You probably just took a sip of clean drinking water. These are all things that we take for granted each and every day that a lot of people don't have. And so, yes, it's a crazy world, but if they all stripped us of our cars or they all stripped us of our ability to walk tomorrow, you'd be like, man, we really had it good these days. So just continuing to think like that is so key. You're on mute.
Thank you so much for your time today.
No.
Last, I love this. Hopefully we can do it again at some point. And it's just such a pleasure to have you on here and be able to kind of share your knowledge with people who might not sometimes hear your knowledge because you're doing the stuff that no one ever really sees. But again, I'd love for you to just plug what you're doing right now because I think it's really important. Just give the website that we're doing, the Money Masters, real quick. So if somebody does, if you want to plug your mind with some positive stuff from positive people and not have to pay any money to do it, this is a great way to do that. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll end end it for today.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's funny because we had this Money Mindset Masters series planned for over a year. And so over the past 6 months, I've been interviewing millionaires and billionaires strictly around money mindset. Because the number one thing that we see with people who aren't making money or they don't have the lifestyle they want to have really has nothing to do with the strategy. It has to do with their relationship to money. And we wanted to prove that by interviewing people who came from all different walks of life, have built all different types of businesses, and talk to them about how they view money and also how they used to view it and what struggles they've gotten past and how they identified that and got past it to create their success. So if you're somebody who was like me, who was scared to spend money, who thought that if you saw success, it would all crumble around you, had the fear of loss constantly. If you're fighting with your spouse around money, or if you don't think that you deserve to have money and you feel like you're not worthy of success, which is a big one, this will absolutely help you to get past that and see how many people had those thoughts and got through them. So that is at moneymindsetmasters.com. I think it's coming at the perfect time. We had always planned to launch it in April. So the fact that this is going on and this is a money mindset summit is a little eerie to me. But you can check that out. If you want to watch it for free, you can see all the interviews live. And if you do want to get the recordings, we have that at a very low price for you if you choose to get that, but you certainly don't have to. So that's at moneymindsetmasters.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It has been a true pleasure. I hope everyone feels the same way too. But I know I had a blast, and we'll definitely have this recording available to everyone inside of our group. And Jessica, thank you so much again for your time. And hopefully we can see you soon again. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, honored to be on here. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. You were so great to have, and I love the comments. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, stay safe, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.